Alright, hello there. So, my name is Sanjeet Samanta, and this is my Computing Science 20 final project submission video. Now, I'll have this up on my YouTube, and it'll also be attached to the submission itself. So, just for some context, I am in Computing Science 20 at Western Canada High School in Calgary, Alberta, and this is my final project. It's a Discord bot. So, we can get started right here. This is the gateway to making a Discord bot for any developer, and that is the Discord Developer Portal. Now, the Discord Developer Portal has it so that you apply, and then you can just work on your bot, at least with like the nitty-gritty details, through your general information and the bot information itself. So we'll look into the bot information right away because I would argue that this is probably the most important tab in the website itself, just because it contains your token and then settings regarding your authorization flow, which just mandates the privacy that your bot can maintain, as well as some information on the gateway intents, which I'll talk about in Visual Studio. So, with that being said, for context, the token is essentially the Discord bot's password. I'm not going to show it here because then I'll have to regenerate it. If I reveal the token and someone else was to access it, they could mess everything up with the bot. So it's better to just keep that hidden. With that being said, that's pretty much it for the developer portal itself. I can then move on to Visual Studio here. So with Visual Studio Code, we have here the index.js followed by many other files and folders, which we're all going to take a look at here pretty soon. So the index.js is what I like to think of as like the trunk of a tree. It's very much the foundation of what everything is built on, and it's the directory. This is not the initial version of it. This is the finalized, polished version of it. If you'd like to see the whole process, I will probably link the Google Docs that is documenting and journaling all of my progress in the description below. Without further ado, we can get on into it. So, yep, this is the index.js, and it essentially just contains a direction that points to every single folder that will be required to actually make this bot function properly. So we can start here with client start config token. So this is basically putting the keys in the engine and starting the car up. This is telling the program that it needs to log in as the bot and then start using the actual code to make the bot do things. And we'll look at some of the things it can do here. These are the commands of it. And the config token essentially calls right here to config.json, and that is where the password and prefix are. Again, I mean I'm gonna click on it. I'll just regenerate the password after, but yeah, this is where this is, and it's just saying that okay, this is the information you kind of need just to get your bot up and running. All right, that's data, and we can then look a little bit at we can look at client. We can start a client. So this is the client.js file, and what this is it's just another attachment of the index. So the way it works, this is the one that actually initiates the start, but index is the one that calls it. So that's why I call index the trunk, because it calls client, which then starts the token, which I just showed you there. So with that, this is the sort of the client.js file in its finalized version. I don't think I'm gonna have to make any more edits to it really. When looking at it, it does look intimidating at first, and that's what I thought as well when I was really following my tutorial and taking notes and everything. I was like, oh, this is a lot of stuff. But in truth, once you break it down into its components, it does make a lot of sense, actually. So what it's basically doing here is, if this is the most important part of it, is it's initiating the start. So you are initiating the program itself, and then it is calling to commands and events because I have a command handler and an event handler followed through. So essentially what it's just doing is connecting everything in the intricate web that it already has. So it's not too bad. And then we just export client here because we'll have to use it in some other files. And then we can look at the command handler. So the command handler is pretty simple. The way it works is, again, it calls on client and it calls on Discord, because Discord.js has to be used for the language to be recognized, at least in the context of Discord, again. And so what this does is the command handler allows us to have a system that of naming for our commands, so that every time we name our commands and we name them properly, it knows to detect them. And I'll show you that again here pretty soon. When I actually activate it and work with the bot itself in the Discord lobby, or in the server's lobby, sorry. And then this is the event handler. This is the last thing that the index actually calls to, because then this goes into its own kind of branch. This is the event handler, and it essentially just it does the same thing that the command handler does, but for events. And I'll just leave it there. I'll talk about that in a little bit. So actually, you know what? We can talk about the events right now instead of going into the commands, I guess. So for the event handler, these are the two files that come with the event handler. We have messagecreate.js and ready.js. Now, messagecreate.js works so that the bot can know when not to reply and when to reply, and we see that through here. So if the author of the message is the bot itself, it will just simply return, so it won't message back, because then what happens is it gets caught in a loop. That was one of the problems that I faced when first initially starting with making the bot. The second line here that we should be looking at is the idea that if the message content itself doesn't actually contain an exclamation mark, which is the client prefix, then it should also return. Because again, we don't really want the bot to not be working where it shouldn't be. It should only be working with commands, right? So that's sort of the main gist of what message create is just looking at, it's just giving the bot a list of things it needs to understand of what it can and cannot do. So that is it for message create. Then we can take a look here at ready.js. So this is a very, very simple few lines of code. The way it works is we have it so that the bot, once it knows it's ready and it's logged in, it will say I Doofenshmirtz. Just for context, the name of my server is Doofenshmirtz Evil Inc. And Doofenshmirtz is obviously the main character in that part of it. So with that done, I think we can probably look at the commands now. And this is probably the best part of it, because this is where the actual functionality of the bot can be demonstrated. So this is all in alphabetical order, but this command is the clear command, and the way it works, as I will show in a little bit, is it just clears the number of messages specified in the channel that the command was actually put in. And then for functions, this is actually an embed, not just a normal functions list. It's an embed, so it's just supposed to demonstrate my knowledge of Discord embeds and such, and it's just a list of, it is a list of commands, but in a very fancy manner. And then hello, it simply greets the user who says exclamation mark hello. Inspire will inspire the user who puts the command in by grabbing a quote from ZenQuote, which has a random API generator. So it's kind of cool. This is probably going to be one of my favorite commands, I have to say, and it's for the reason that it has done something that has exceeded my expectations and my goals of this Discord bot, and I can't really wait to implement more things like it, so that's cool. And this is ping.js. This essentially just gives an immediate latency report of the bot. At the moment, I will show you quite soon why I'm facing troubles with Heroku, which is the cloud software, but at the moment it'll be running on the local device, which is my PC, so the immediate latency report is just what the connection it has with my computer. Okay, with that said, we can now actually get the terminal up and running. So to start the program, we want to go node space period, and what we have here is a series of messages saying that all of the commands are loaded. So it tells me that my 5 commands here are loaded and they're all functional, and then the 2 events are good to go, and then it says I Doofenshmirtz, so we know that the bot is up and running. If we open up Discord here, I'm just going to full screen that. You can already see I was doing a little bit of testing here, and that was just to make sure that we were all good to record. So the way it works here is we can just get on into it. If we go exclamation mark hello, we should get a hey there back from the bot, which we can corroborate with right there. It should message reply hey there. Now, if we do, well, we could do ping. If we ask for the latency report, it will it'll respond with pong because that's what everyone's bot does. So I decided to do that as well, and then it gives a latency report right there. Now let's say that we wanted to be inspired. Maybe we were feeling sad or something, and the interesting thing that I did here was I made it so that it didn't actually reply to the user. That yellow bar is kind of annoying, and I wanted the inspire quote to just be on its own. So if I go exclamation mark inspire, right, it grabs something there from the API, from Zen quotes, and it feeds it back into here. And we can actually see that here. I did have to find and actually go through the formatting for the API, which is this, but overall it wasn't too bad. And yeah, it gives a new quote every single time that I do it, which is kind of nice. I believe they have, oh, I think it was something near the bulk, like 4,000 quotes or something. So they have a lot of quotes. I don't think anyone will be running out of quotes anytime soon. That is inspire, and then we did ping, we did hello, okay. And then we can do functions and then clear the code that we've, clear the lines of messaging that we've already had here. So if I go functions, yes, this is the very neatly formatted list of functions. So it just reads that this is the functions list, this is the title of it, and then it gives a little description, and I have actually linked the Google Docs here that leads to my journaling, and then it gives you the primary commands here. So now we have all these messages in this chat that no one really needs to see anymore. So let's clear it. But see, if we click clear, it'll say you never specified how many messages I should clear. So we'll specify a number this time. We'll say, okay, clear 2 messages. And it'll clear 2 messages, and then a few seconds after, 5 seconds after, it'll delete itself. Now, that's still not enough messages. It can actually clear up to 100 messages, and obviously this is not 100 messages, but if we were to write 100, it would clear it all, and it thinks it's 100, but it would essentially just clear all the way through and then delete itself. So it completely cleans up the chat, and that's also another very cool feature of the bot itself. And that's actually one of the main functions that many popular bots today have as well, such as Me6 and I believe I think Fredboat does have it as well, but I'm not sure. Okay, so with that being said, that is pretty much all we need from Visual Studio Code itself. We can now take a peek at Heroku and the problems that I've been facing with it so far, and probably the next steps. So this is Heroku. For those of you that don't know, Heroku in this case is working with GitHub to have my bot on line 24/7. Now, there are a few problems with it, and most of it starts from the fact that a lot of what Heroku reads off of my actual code doesn't work with it. And that's pretty much for the reason, from what I understand, that my bot was made to run on a local device. That's sort of the idea of it. And so when I tried converting it over to something that would work on a cloud, it said no. And we can see that here if I go to the logs, which is essentially the activity of it, and then I was to restart my dynos. So here I'm using the worker dyno, which is just, it's a functional piece of it, of the code itself. It's just what I used to read the code. If I restart it and then I run it through the application log, it'll say state has changed from crash to starting, and it'll go through the whole process again, but will once again crash. And that's mainly for the reason right there, that it cannot find the module discord.js. This is a pretty annoying problem, if I'll be honest. I am working to get it solved right now, but I'm not sure how feasible of an option it is for the frame of time that I have before submission. So realistically, the bot completely works fine. It just doesn't work online, which is a bummer, but I will definitely have to look into this in the future to actually get it up and running, because it's not going to be very useful if I have to run it on my local device every single time. But still works, and it is still a product that I am very proud of. It took a lot of work. Just to explain Heroku a little bit more, it works with GitHub, as I said before. This is my repository, DJS3. You can see that here as well. in Visual Studio. So this is DJS-3, and it's the way the repository works is it just stores the information, uploads it using GitHub to Heroku there. So pretty much, I think that sums up everything that's been going on with the project. Overall, I think, in my opinion, the project was a huge success, and it was a success also because of its failures, I think. If you go through the journal, I have a summary of failures and problems that I faced at the bottom of it, and I think failure is good because it was failure that probably taught me the most about making a Discord bot. I haven't coded in JavaScript in a very long time, and I've been coding in Java in Computing Science 20, so it was kind of nice that I could carry over my concepts of logic and functions and so all over into JS, but it's definitely like uncharted territory for me. And so to make a Discord bot from scratch that does do some pretty nifty features was a huge win in my opinion. And with that being said as well, the failures were good learning lessons and stepping stones. Like if you look at the journal, there were many parts where like the smallest misplacement of like a semicolon would completely screw everything up, and then the whole bot would crash, and it was frustrating. But with time and everything, you'd get over it, and you'd understand that okay, it happens, and there's obviously you just need to continue being resilient and persevere through it. So with that being said, I think that sums up the primary content of my bot. If there are any questions, please, I think this is mostly dedicated to Mr. Chow here for this part, but if there are any questions, please send me an email or let me know. But besides that, I will try and respond to any questions I have in the comments. I don't know. Uh, I don't know how long I'll be looking at it for, but this is basically it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Thanks.